What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We're hopeful that you are happy, healthy, excited, and we're hopeful that you're pumped because the Dallas Cowboys are back. A 43-3 victory for America's team on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. That was 2 days ago, which means that today is Tuesday. And because it is Tuesday, it is time for our weekly Blogging the Boys Roundtable here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe. We have a packed room for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us, going clockwise, if you are watching this, we will podcast this as well for the podcast audience on the Blogging the Boys Podcast Network, is Tom, the wise one, Ryle. You can, of course, read Tom at bloggingtheboys.com. Here I'm on Riled Up every Thursday on the Podcast Network. Next to him, young Antonio, Tony Catalina, who you can hear on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Cowboys Roundup, and now on Saturdays on 2 Minute Warning. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony_Catalina. Beneath him on the screen, nowhere else, we have young Aidan Davis, the professor, our statistical mastermind on Twitter at Aidan1214. You can read him at the pages at bloggingtheboys.com. In the middle underneath, we have Danny Phantom. Dan Rogers is his official legal name, what he goes by, on the streets. Danny Phantom is more so when he is on Twitter and whatnot, at Danny Phantom 24 on Twitter.com. You can hear Danny on Cowboys Roundup on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we have Sturch, who is 1/3 of 2 Minute Warning, along with Aidan and Tony, our newest show at Blogging the Boys. Sturch, you can hear, of course, at Chop Sports, everything they do over there. Lots of fun stuff. Great content that they put out at Chop Sports, just like we like to do here at Blogging the Boys. I Bleed Blue 365 says Super Crew. And Tom, I Bleed Blue 365 says best show every week. How does that make you feel, Tom?
Pressured.
Dynamite drop in, Tom.
Certainly one way to react. We have a lot to get to, people. The Dallas Cowboys are 7-2. They have a massive game coming up on Sunday on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. We have some graphic things to share that the professor whipped up for us. But Tony, Cowboys are back. You Chicken Little. You everything good now? Cowboys win the Super Bowl. You're kind of our most extreme person here around these neck of the woods.
I mean, it's tough to feel pretty bad after what happened last week. I mean, it was, I think I said it earlier, maybe in one of the roundups, I said, the second half was easy living, getting to watch that, relax, and being able to sit down. So you got no complaints out of me after last week.
Well said. Dan, you were not here for the roundtable last week, but we wanted to make sure you were. We got an extra seat, like when you go to the restaurant, they put you at the booth that only seats 4, but you have 5, so it's really awkward. You ask the waiter or waitress, could you get the chair, the extra chair, and then that person's got to get up every time somebody's got to get out of the booth. It's a whole awkward situation for the whole meal. You're not there, Dan. You're in the booth, so don't worry. You're nestled safely in the corner. All the jackets and bags with you right there as well. But how are you feeling, Dan? Because you were sprightly on the Cowboys Roundup this morning.
You know what? I'm feeling great. I mean, I don't know how you could not feel great. This is a really good spot to be in. It doesn't happen a lot. So, as I mentioned in the Roundup, we just have to really embrace this time. So I'm trying to enjoy all of it.
Sturch, you happy? You pleased? You over the moon? You just desolate? I mean, what are your emotions?
I'm not satisfied. I want more out of this. I want back. I want to go into Kansas City and show the world that, we're nothing to mess around with, as plenty of these Cowboys have gone on record to say, like, you don't want to F with us. They're taking the gloves off now, which is kind of cool.
The only team that effed with them, the Atlanta Falcons. I always love how the Falcon is in the shape of an F, one of the cooler logos in the NFL, in my personal opinion. Aidan, you predicted on your own, with no help from NFL history, many weeks ago, that the Cowboys defense would average about 2 turnovers a game for the rest of the way. That was at week 2 or after week 2 that we had that discussion. 3 turnovers last week. They're working on bumping that average back for you after they got none the previous 2 games.
It was refreshing to see, too. It seemed like 3 straight drives where it was Anthony Brown and it was Diggs. And then everybody was getting in on the party. It was just fun to watch because that's when it seemed like the Falcons just melted down, and I took great pleasure in that.
Good for you, Aidan. Good for all of us. I want to start with a fight. I want to get things going. It's my job to stir the pot here as your humble host. And so the first question that we're going to deal with is going. I'm going to predict the fight for Sturch, Tony, Aidan. Let's all get some popcorn. Let's sit back. Sturch, I know you have some experience doing some ringside announcing. Maybe you get in the middle here if Tom and Dan are too upset with one another. But the first question, and Tom, I put it to you to set the table. Who do you most attribute the bounce back to? Cowboys get blanked effectively by the Denver Broncos in Week 9. They bounce back with the help of a particular substance that we'll get to in a little bit, and defeat the Atlanta Falcons 43-3. If you have to place the credit at the feet of one person, who is that and why?
You know, the obvious answer would be Dak Prescott, you know, because he came back and played so beautifully.
By the way, DeLunatic, a great answer here is most attribute the Denver Broncos. I mean, that's a great answer, honestly.
Yeah. But I'm going to give a shout out, you know, to Jordan Lewis, because he effectively ended the game with those back-to-back pass breakups. I think it was on Atlanta's second possession when they wound up turning it over on downs. And that whole game went from, okay, we're in a little bit of a fight here, we got to make sure we do it right, to the Cowboys said, okay, we're putting our foot on your neck and choking you all the way out.
A fair answer, Tom. Not what I wanted. I'll have to, you know, stir the pot in a little bit and come back around to this. But since you're answering it in a somewhat serious way, Tony, let's go around the bend. Who do you most attribute it to? You can't take anybody's answer. Those are the rules around here. So Jordan Lewis is off the table. Dak Prescott also off the table because that's too easy, too chalk.
I mean, for me, it's hard not to say Mike McCarthy and kind of what he's built in this team. The structure, the you know. We're going to get to it later about the monkey butt, but like, it's just his mentality, what he's brought to this team. It's just easy to attribute the fact that, Denver helped make it a wake up call for us. And how we looked at this week is, you know, they had to do a self-reflection, but I think that's something you can attribute to the way Mike McCarthy coaches, what he's instilled in belief and, you know, mentality in this team. So I'm going to have to give the head coach a big +1 on this.
Tony's knocking on the door. We'll come back to this. But Aidan, who do you most attribute the bounce back to for the Cowboys? You can't pick Mike McCarthy, Jordan Lewis, or Dak Prescott.
I'm going to attribute it to the place where it all starts, and that's the offensive line, specifically with Terrence Steele. I think he was getting a lot of flack after the Denver game, and rightfully so. It wasn't his finest game. But he came out there and didn't allow a single pressure. And this is kind of a secondary shout-out. Sorry if one of you guys are planning on taking this, but
don't apologize. Fight always.
Ezekiel Elliott in the passing game, I understand it wasn't his best game on the ground, but he was picking up blitzes like it was his job, and
it is his job.
Fair, yeah, that's fair. He is getting paid a lot of money to do it, but I mean, Dak had all day to throw, and I think that's the number one reason why you saw a great game from Dak and a great game from the offense as a whole.
Okay, Aidan taking 2, making it difficult for you, Dan, but you're not last. So, Mr. Rogers, what do you got?
Well, since I can't take McCarthy.
The pod is intensifying. I love this. Okay.
No, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I think it all kind of trickles down from Prescott. But since we can't pick Prescott, I'm going to take the next best thing in Dallas, and that's Kellen Moore. I just think everything just builds off what Dak and Kellen does. And I think you look at when the offense moves the chains and puts points on the board, what it does defensively. I just think that I'm calling it now the Dakota Fly effect.
Nice.
So I think that, to me, I mean, last with Denver, you know, you're missing that part of it, and just everything starts to go south. And then once things start to roll again, it all just falls into place. So.
That's well said. All good answers, Sturch. You can't pick CeeDee Lamb. I'll throw him into the can't pick mix as well, just because guys, make it a little bit challenging.
Fellas, looking. I love all your answers. I think they're great. But can we go with the guy that got the game ball, Dan Quinn? Like, are we like?
Are we missed opportunity around the clock before it got to Sturch?
I was fully expecting to have to pick like Dorrance Armstrong or something like that because somebody was going to nail Dan Quinn. But like Dan Quinn is the reason why. Like, look, everybody and their sister knew that the Dallas Cowboys offense was going to perform and bounce back. Y'all knew that. You have Dak Prescott. you know you're going to bounce back into form. We know that Kellen Moore is a great offensive coordinator. These are things we know. What we didn't know is the defense, how they were going to respond to not having Randy Gregory, right? How are they going to use Parsons being down 2 of their best 2 defensive pass rushers? So Dan Quinn dialed something up, took his old team and said, thank you very much for the nice early release so I can establish myself as a defensive coordinator extraordinaire again for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's yes, it's 43-3, but the more impressive thing to me is holding an NFL team to 3 points.
I've just decided right now I'm going to start keeping score, in these roundtables after every question. And Sturch is in the lead. 1 point. The point for the round goes to Sturch. Great job. Micah Parsons just fell to 10 and to 12 again. He pounced on him. Great job by you, Dave Sturchio, early in the running for today's winner. A great comment here. Donnie, by the way, in our comment section did mention Dan Quinn as well. So you've got some people on your wavelength of thought, Sturch. But this was the fight I wanted to start, and you were all super boring about it. Tom, you seem ready to tango on this. Donnie also said, I attribute it to Mike McCarthy, being a better head coach than Jason Garrett. Tom Ryle, your thoughts?
I think that's absolutely true. And I think, I was wondering if you were kind of fishing for Mike.
Tom, I threw a net in the river, and I threw some TNT and dynamite to blow it all up. I mean, come on, let's go.
Sometimes we overthink the question. So but Mike McCarthy has set a completely different tone. I was reading some stuff today about how he has a long history of being aggressive. He was one of the first head coaches to see 4th down as a resource that wasn't being exploited. It was something that could be used to get yourself another shot at getting towards the end zone. And then he brings in Dan Quinn, who has a very similar aggressive stance, which you kind of expect from a defensive coordinator. And one thing I love about it is I really think that the defense plays better once the Cowboys get a lead, because then they're coming downhill. But this team has been reshaped and remolded, and I keep going back to the fact that I think Mike McCarthy came in, and this is the vision he had for the team.
Dan, sorry, Tom, but this is, Tom joked right before we started streaming about you not being Mike McCarthy's biggest fan.
Right.
To be clear for everyone, Dan is a fan of Mike McCarthy. I think you took a little bit longer to come around to it. Last year was not great. There was a lot of necessary, I think, self-reflection from McCarthy and co. But your thoughts as somebody who was not as impressed after his inaugural flight with the Cowboys to this point. Is he one of the best coaches in the National Football League? Is he better than you thought? Like, what's the line you're willing to give him at this point?
He's better than I thought. It's taken me a while, and I still haven't came around with McCarthy. I mean, last year did happen. We can't pretend like it didn't happen. I mean, Cowboys were not just losing games; they looked terrible. And so, I mean, I think for me, it's like a moving average, and the more McCarthy does, it's better. The better I feel about him. I don't like taking anything away from the remarkable coaching staff that we have there all together with Kellen and Quinn. So, I'm trying to enjoy McCarthy. I don't want to do it at the expense of Jason Garrett, and I appreciate everything that he did, and there was a lot of successful seasons that we had with him, and I don't like some of the narratives that sometimes come out when we're trying to make ourselves feel better.
Sure.
About just like if it's Garrett and he's gone, then everything's going to be great. McCarthy's still got to get us through the playoffs. And if he doesn't, it doesn't mean he's not as good as Garrett. So I mean, it's still tough to win in the playoffs. So I just I'm happy. I love the way how aggressive McCarthy is. I'm very pleased with how things are going. So I just want to let's see where this goes. But definitely, I like McCarthy.
You guys were rational and fair, which made the fight really boring. if I'm being totally honest. But, hey, we're looking for rational and fair at the end of the day. Tony, DeLunatic says, whomever decided to take the ball first when we won the coin flip instead of deferring statement. I think this caught all of us off guard just a little bit because the Cowboys have become a team that thankfully now starts to defer when they win the opening coin toss. This was certainly uncharacteristic of that behavior. They said, we won the toss. We want the ball. We're going to score, like Matt Hasselbeck way back in the day before it blew up in his face, incidentally, against the Green Bay Packers, ironically, given Mike McCarthy. Do you like that, Tony? I mean, because it was very clear that the Cowboys spent a week feeling sorry for themselves and pledging to have that feeling never happen again.
9 times out of 10, I'm on the train of defer. In this situation, I loved it. I mean, it fired me up to say, let's take the football. We're going to run it down their throat. We're going to jam it down their throat, and we're going to score 7 points. And we're going to not wait. We're going to put the last week behind us now. We're not going to wait another minute. Let's go ahead and just show this team and show this offense, show the league. This is what we're about. This is what we're made of. And it completely set the tone. And it to me, it really showed that it wasn't lip service all week. Everything they said all the right things. Everybody talked and everybody said the best things. But the actions, matched up with the words. They came out there, they punched them in the mouth. And from that point on, it's just like, okay, we're on, we're gone. Denver is over with, and this team is ready to roll.
You mentioned the words, the actions. We all said all week long, we said it on the roundtable last week, all this is great, this atonement, this, accountability, saying, and I think we all thought it was respectable that they said we got overconfident. And that was all great if they came out and delivered on Sunday against Atlanta, which they did. So that now corroborates all of that as being true. We're now sort of hindsight justifying everything that they said. Sturch, I'm going to come to you after we play this clip, but Tony, you mentioned the actions, the words. We found out about something on Monday, the day after the game, that seemingly was a part of their actions all week long. I'll let the clip speak for itself. This is NFL Network's Tom Pelissero on Monday afternoon explaining a rather interesting story.
Well, Andrew, Mike McCarthy always has different motivational tools that he brings out at specific moments where he feels like you need it during the season. Last year, it was the Gallagher routine, smashing watermelons in a team meeting the night before they beat the Vikings. Well, this past week, coming off that ugly performance against Denver, McCarthy dubbed it RAW, meaning Red Ass Week. In other words, get mad, take it personally, then get out on the field and take it out on the Falcons. To reinforce that message, McCarthy actually had staff going around the locker room and handing out monkey butt. What is monkey butt? I'm glad you asked. It is an anti-chafing powder. It's got a variety of different uses. For instance, if you're sore from, getting your butt kicked like they did last week, get yourself some monkey butt. Well, the Cowboys players got a kick out of that. They certainly got the message, went out there and did their thing yesterday against the Falcons.
Sturch, I promised I would come to you. Is this cheesy? Is it lame? Is it cool? Is it only cool because it worked? How do you think?
I mean, this goes back to Hard Knocks with the Mojo moment, and I'm just like, what is this? And now, it goes back to last year with the watermelon thing. Look, if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, you look like a fool. You know what I mean? So the fact that this worked and it, again, the Cowboys were angry, and I like that. I like that's the part of this I like, is the fact that he's get angry, get aggressive, get back to the field and do what you guys are good at doing. And if it takes giving out a supplement of some sort, which I guess monkey butt is, then do it. But again, it worked, so it's fine by me.
Aidan, do you view this as a challenge, like an actual prop in a serious point, or like a soft way to kind of be humorous about it and just kind of laugh and say, look, we got destroyed. Here you go. This is what you get. Hee hee ha ha. Now let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons.
I think it's a serious thing that Mike McCarthy he wants to find a way to motivate this team, and he's looks some monkey butt apparently as this is going to be the way to motivate this team. And the reason I think it's serious is because of the way he coached. You saw at the end of the half, Cowboys score a touchdown.
Go off here, Aidan. Go off.
They get the penalty. Everybody would have just fine if you had taken the penalty on kickoff. I don't think anybody was expecting a 2-point conversion. He goes for 2. They obviously get it. Then what happens in the second half, you're 4th and 2 at the goal line. at that point, the game was essentially over. I think everybody would have been fine with a field goal. McCarthy then said, no, if you guys want to stop, if you guys want the points to stop, you're going to have to stop it because we're going for it on 4th and 2 when the game's practically over. So McCarthy coached like he was mad. He coached like he got a butt whooping. And that's the reason I think it's serious, is because he coached like it was serious.
Tony, I saw you nodding your head. You look fired up. I mean, you look like you're really pleased about this. I mean, I think I agree with Aidan completely. I would add to that I think he coaches like that always. You know, like what I love about that is that was not a deviation from who he is. He is I've got the bigger toy. I'm going to run you over. If you don't like it, score more than me. And if you do, okay, I'll get some monkey butt. But like, I believe in my offense. And if you don't, then that sucks for you.
Aidan hit the nail on the head with me. It's, you want to stop us? We ain't going to stop. You know what I mean? You're going to have to stop us. And this is the National Football League. Your checks get cleared just like mine do. And we're coming off a game where, you know, a statement was made on us. So we're out here to take it out on you. And don't think for one second that the Dan Quinn factor didn't have a little piece of it too, right? You know what I mean? The defensive starters played a little longer. You know, they didn't want them to score a touchdown. I think mission accomplished there. And the offense was coming in there. I mean, Dak's lowering his shoulder in the third quarter of a game that's over. And get him out at that point, right? You proved your point. You flexed on him. Get him out. And then, but yeah, I mean, I'm fired up. I always say it. I tweet it out all the time. Keep a Nike on the neck. This game is not for the faint of heart. We got to go out there and score 40 points, 50 points, whatever it takes, just do it.
I said this on the post-game show, Dan. Have you ever seen the movie Miracle, Dan? The Disney movie about the USA hockey team at Lake Placid?
I've seen parts of it.
Oh. There's a part where the United States loses. I forget to who in the moment. I mean, it really happened, but I'm talking about the movie. And the coach makes them skate laps, and he's doing. He says again, and they're like vomiting, and they're like passing out and fainting, and he's just like again and again and again, and that's what Mike McCarthy reminded me of. Like more, another, just give me another. Like I mean, I don't even know what, but when was the last time you, Dan, felt like the Cowboys just kind of sent their message that way? Any game that jumps to mind, the last time they really just kind of put it to a team when they really, really wanted to.
Man.
These roundtables aren't for the faint of heart either. You guys got to come prepared.
I got one.
Okay, you want to go, Sturch, while Dan thinks? Go ahead, Sturch.
The last time I saw them score at will and score as many points as humanly possible to make a statement was when they won their first Super Bowl in '92. Out of the back-to-back years when they beat the brakes off the Bills. Regular season-wise, I can't. I mean, look, there's been games that we've racked the Giants 35-0 or something like that. But, like, I'm looking at a team that literally went, as, you know, if not for Leon Lett, we would have set a Super Bowl record. So.
Dan, I would offer, and I don't know if you want to agree with this, in 2019, after the Cowboys lost to the Jets, after we're 3-0, then they fell to 3-3. They came home for the Sunday night game against the Eagles. That was the night that the Dak hip thing took off, and they just kind of had their way with them. That to me felt like, okay, they're really here to just kind of send a message.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I can think of is probably, I think it was Detroit in 2016.
Oh, yes. When Zeke did he did everybody's celebrations. That was so awesome after that long touchdown. That was great.
I remember, was that the one that Dez threw the touchdown to Witten?
It was.
Yeah, I mean, that was one where they were just like, they just definitely, you know, Linehan was just pulling out all the stops, and they just wanted to annihilate them. So I think that's the last time I can remember.
I think before Tua, that was the last touchdown thrown by a left-handed person in the NFL. I could be wrong, but at least it was close. I do want to give a shout-out to our super chatter. None of you will get this, but Eli Perkins, thank you for the super chat. Round of applause from all of us here. This is a reference, in case anybody's unaware. Eli says, by the way, cocktail sauce is for cold shrimp only. I said on the 750 on our podcast network with Tony Casillas, I told a story. My wife and I had shrimp for dinner on Monday night. And we went to the store ahead of time, and she said she was going to buy cocktail sauce. And I said, why? Because we were eating like broiled shrimp. And she said, for the shrimp. And I said, you can only eat cocktail sauce with cold shrimp, like a shrimp cocktail. I said, and she was like, no, you can eat it with any kind of shrimp, like fried shrimp and whatever. I thought that was disgusting. I mean, she's the woman I love, the mother of our child soon to be, but not a great moment for her, needless to say. But thank you, Eli, for agreeing with me And thank you for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Tom, your thoughts on Kellen Moore? Obviously, Dan shouted him out a moment ago, but specifically, Tom, the relationship between he and Dak Prescott.
Oh my God, hand in glove.
Who's who and why?
Moore has the creativity and the innovation to write the checks, and Dak has the talent and ability and intelligence to cash them. And just they are really
pinky in the brain.
Yeah, it's well. Okay.
Anyway, beyond Tom.
Yeah, I hope they go for world domination, at least in football. But
nice, Tom. Well done.
Just to prove I know what pinky in the brain's about. But Dak he's flowering, and I keep thinking of something I heard, talking about another team. That Mac Jones landed in the perfect system for him, whereas Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance, they didn't. And look who's flourishing. Dak is in a perfect system because he can do so much. He is able to create, to move, make some throws, like that great pass to CD Lamb, where he threw a pinpoint pass while CD was still breaking into his turn and getting through traffic. And Moore is willing to Kellen Moore. It's just a bigger and bigger toolbox, and he just keeps reaching in deeper and deeper. I mean, you have to love what he's done with Connor McGovern, turning him into the world's biggest fullback right now. I love the trick play they tried, even if it didn't succeed. He just put that in the mind of every defensive coordinator that's going to have to face the Cowboys. It's one more wrinkle. And every game he seems to roll out something, and I think it's just to mess with people's minds.
Sturch, you had something to say.
Yeah, it's actually something that me and my dad discussed when they ran that trick play. It was almost like, why would you show that now? The game was in hand, and then they ran the trick play. It's like, if that was something that could be a special play, why would you show that in a game that was like a runaway?
I mean, that's his runaway play, Sturch. Like, think about the ones that he's saving. I mean, I agree with everything you both said. To me, it reminds me of the relationship between like Harry Potter and Voldemort. Like how Harry Potter like inherited all these powers from Voldemort when Voldemort tried to kill him when he was a little baby. So he like inherited all these like, powers that like a normal wizard wouldn't have, and he was just this super wizard. And that's Dak. Like Dak has the courage and the bravery that Harry had on his own, instilled with him the like intellect from Voldemort and whatnot. Speaking of supreme intellect, Aidan, you worked up something on this subject. People can read about it at bloggingtheboys.com. See the graphic there. Obviously, if they're watching right now, they can see the graphic we're about to put on the screen. I say this right now because if you're listening to the podcast, we're about to put a graphic on the screen. So you can't see it. Aidan's still going to describe it in a perfect way. It's on social media. It's everywhere. Please go look at it because it will make perfect sense with everything he's saying. Our producer, by the way, saying that that's not how Harry Potter works. You're all wrong. The analogy was perfect. Nobody hate on it. But Aidan, please let us know what we're looking at right now.
So what we're looking at is two measures of offensive success. It's efficiency, meaning how easily do you move down the field? How easily do you convert series? And then how do you finish the drives? How many points are you scoring when you inevitably get down in the red zone when you get to the end? What we're seeing from Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott right now is incredible efficiency in terms of the offensive yards per play over the last 3 years. So this is a very large sample size, and we're only taking into account the games where Kellen Moore and Dak are both involved. So over the last 3 years, they have been more efficient than every team in the NFL, and it's not particularly close. They're hovering around 6.4-ish yards per play. The next best team is the Chiefs, and they're just above 6. So the Cowboys are incredibly efficient, but the key is that they're scoring points as well. They're a top 3 team. When they get to the red zone, they're scoring points. Now, obviously, the red zone, we've discussed the red zone efficiency before. It's not perfect, but they're getting to the red zone so frequently that it's not mattering. They're scoring points at will. Now, one thing that's not included on this graphic that I want to touch on The Cowboys have the 11th lowest average drive time. Their average drives take around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which is the 11th lowest in the NFL. The other teams that are around the Cowboys in that metric are teams like the Jets, the Lions, the football team, the Jaguars, just bottom tier offenses. Cowboys are getting down to the red zone fast, scoring points, and they're doing it by essentially taking no time off the clock. Now, maybe that's not great for our defense, but what they're doing is incredible. They're moving literally at will, is what we're seeing so far from Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott over the entire span of Kellen Moore's tenure.
Again, to reiterate Aidan's point, if you're watching or if you're listening to the podcast, you pulled the graphic up. These games, this sample is from 2019 to this point when Kellen Moore took over as offensive coordinator. Again, though, excluding the games that Dak Prescott was not a part of. Obviously, that's a huge chunk of 2020, but we wanted to look specifically at the relationship between this quarterback, this offensive coordinator. Dan, you're an astute individual. What is your takeaway here beyond being wildly impressed? Dan, you're muted. Maybe you're still stuck on my Voldemort analogy. I know it was impressive. So,
I am. I mean, that's pretty good. You know what? I mean, we've talked about this already, and I just think the Prescott Moore combo is just remarkable. I mean, it's been a long time, and I just looked this up since the Cowboys actually led the league in scoring. You have to go back to 1980, and none of Jimmy's teams never did that, and so it's just, I don't know, it's great when not only that we have a good offense, but like the best offense, because when you have a top 10 defense to go with it, then you can do special things, and I just love it. I love seeing those two. I mean, I wish Kellen Moore was here forever. I wish Dak's contract was Kellen's contract, and they were just going to stay together forever, because it's just it's fun to watch, and I mean, it's just the results speak for themselves.
My advice to you, Dan, would be the wise words of one Andy Bernard. He wished that he knew that he was in the good old days before he left them. These are the good old days. All right, so you now know before we're leaving them. So heads up there. I Bleed Blue 365 says Aidan is my spirit animal. So in addition to being the Professor Aidan, you now have a new nickname. Aidan, speaking of new, we have another graphic to share here about how clutch the combination of Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore are. The floor is yours.
So we use the same measure of efficiency, offensive yards per play, just discussed it. The Cowboys are dominating. But what's also impressive about Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott is they found a way to finish games at an incredible rate. So point differential in the fourth quarter alone, the Cowboys are ahead of every team in the NFL over the last 3 years, and they're just right ahead of New England. So that means that over the last 3 years, the Cowboys have by far and away blown out the NFL in offensive yards per play, and they're first in point differential in the fourth quarter. Now, a lot of people have pointed out point differential in the fourth quarter. It can be a weird metric because sometimes, like it happened a couple times in 2020, where Cowboys were down a lot. They needed to score. Maybe the defense was playing a little bit preventative. But
even like last week against Denver, as an example to that point, Aidan.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you have those 5 games in 2020. Maybe, yeah, you throw in the Denver game. But instead of that, the Cowboys have been competitive in pretty much every other game they've played over the last 3 years. So it's not like we're coming back from behind. We're not the Jets or the Lions. We're not always coming from behind in the fourth quarter. They have found a way to get it done, and they turn it up in the fourth quarter. By far and away, the differential in the fourth quarter is their best quarter. I think the second best is the third quarter, and that's only at like plus 31. We're at plus 120 in the fourth quarter.
That seems pretty good. Tom, your takeaways here.
Well, my takeaway for this is, we're looking at a possible shootout this weekend because obviously, the Chiefs on at least one axis are the second best in the league, with the Cowboys being the best. But that actually fills me with a lot of optimism because right now the Cowboys defense is on fire while the Chiefs defense is kind of sitting in a puddle getting their underwear wet. So I think this is going to be a great matchup because all the Cowboys have to do is slow Mahomes and the Chiefs down and just let Dak cook. And I think after we saw how they came out last weekend, I don't think they're going to be eating the cheese anymore. I think, to borrow from Mike, I believe that this is going to be a team that going forward is going to keep that killer instinct. And, I just think that they're set up. I did hear today that somebody was talking about the fact that you look at the next 3 games where they're into that infamous, 3 games in 12 days stretch that the Cowboys have every year around Thanksgiving. By the time they get done with those 3 games, we're going to know just about everything we could ever want to know about the Cowboys. And the rest of the season is likely to just kind of be reaffirming whatever we see, if you will. But I just think that this is where they start what could be a very important stretch. And I really feel good about this. Of course, I felt good about the Broncos game going in too. So we'll have to see what happens in the end.
I do want to say it grinds my gears every year when people complain about the 3 games in 12 days stretch. Every team goes through this. Just every team does this when they go from Sunday to Thursday. So the real issue is actually 4 games in 19 days because you're talking about Sundays back to back and then Thursdays back to back. That's the real issue. But every team goes through the 3 games in 12 days thing. So that's just, my little soapbox. Sturch, I want to start a different conversation with you because you're the want to pound my chest guy. I want to beat everybody. I want to smash everybody. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I think it's fair to say all that, obviously. But I also think it's fair to say if the Cowboys lose on Sunday, everybody will freak out. It's a non-conference team. It's a really great team. Maybe it will be disappointing. But all that being said, Sturch, not to say, I'm rooting for the Cowboys to lose or anything. 1 to 10, how important is the Kansas City game in the overall picture?
I think from an actual standings point, it's like a 2 or 3. You know what I mean? But from a feel perspective, if the Cowboys go out there and get the job done and they keep their spot at least at 3 right now, given we'll find out what Green Bay does. We'll find out wow, can't even think of. Anyway, the other 2 teams are ahead of them. I'm thinking drawing a blank here.
Arizona,
right.
obviously.
It's funny because I don't even consider it's weird. I have a weird feeling about Arizona. They're gonna just start going like this, but that's just me. But anyway, from a standings perspective, I don't think getting a 3rd loss right now will not eliminate you from the conversation of that 1 seed. I don't think it does, right? And if being an AFC game, I don't think it even matters towards that regard. But again, if they can go out there and go shot for shot with one of the best in the world to do it, I don't care what people have said about Patrick Mahomes. He kind of got back to his old self this past Monday. So, or Sunday night, people are starting to believe in him again. So if we can go toe-to-toe with him, this is very Brady-esque from what we did in the beginning of the season. I at least looked at it like a moral loss. If we lose to the Chiefs in a shootout, I picked them to lose against the Chiefs when the season started. You know what I mean? So rolling or not, the playoff impact, it really won't. It's not. I'm not concerned at all.
So do you have a numerical answer? That was the question, Sturch. All the commenters are obeying the rules except for you.
Did you not hear me say 2?
Okay, well, so 2. I mean, but then you said a lot of stuff, so I didn't know exactly.
I like to back my things up with some
context. Did the explanation change the 2? I mean, so you okay? No, Sturch dropped a deuce. Let's go counterclockwise here. Dan, 1 to 10. How important is this game in the overall picture?
This is the biggest game of the year. I'm giving it a 10.
We got fight. Go ahead.
I mean, up until the Arizona game, which they may be going down by then, we'll see. But this is the biggest game of the year. I mean, not only in the sense of it's super important to just stay ahead with the seeding, because any loss will be crushing. When you're dealing with all 4 of these teams winning games. So, but to beat another Super Bowl team, we didn't beat Tampa Bay, so that was disappointing. So here we have a chance to beat Kansas City, and Kansas City is still a good team. And so I think this would send a great message. I agree with Sturch, the message that it would send to come out there and just keep firing. I think it's important on a couple different levels, just record-wise, but also just saying, hey, we're the best team in the NFL.
I think that's well said, Dan. I believe Blue 365, I think, summarize your point in 3 words in this comment. 8 for affirmation. That's what this is about, right? This isn't like necessary, but it would go a long way. Aidan, 1 to 10.
I'd say 4 because I know what
we
the
are all over the place. Let's go. This is
I know what
a charcuterie board of answers.
Just because I know what the offense is going to be. They should be able to move on the Kansas City defense. I know that the defense has looked a little bit improved over the last few weeks, but I'm not worried about Dak in this. I'm really interested to see what our defense is going to be able to do against Patrick Mahomes. I know we play Kyler Murray, the best quarterback we're going to face this year. I just really want to know, can we contain a powerhouse offense like the Chiefs? The Chiefs still have that type of offense. And so what happens? Do that, great. If not, well, then how does it look? So I essentially just using this as a great test for our defense. So I'd say it's a 4.
Antonio.
You stole my number. 4 from me, and it's typically just for, the way I look at it is, if I'm gonna, if they come out with a win here, I'm gonna feel really good about this game. I'm like, wow, we went into Kansas City. It's got a big atmosphere. The fans are gonna be crazy. It's
Tony,
already being dubbed.
You're gonna be the person that's like, if the Cowboys win, you're gonna be like, what a win! We took down the 2-time AFC champions. But if they lose, you're like, this game was meaningless, guys. Like,
legitimately,
that's where I'm at.
Legitimately pretty close to that, RJ, because a loss in the grand scheme. Dave kind of summed it up. It's an AFC opponent. It's a team that is, a quality opponent. I don't care what their records say. They can get hot at any moment, and looks like they might be turning the corner. You go in there, you give your best shot. You see how you stack up there. A big win. I think a win's going to say a lot more about this team than a loss would.
That might be the best statement said. I forgot to keep track of scores for the other questions. So as far as my recollection, Sturch is the only one with a point, but Tony's in contention for this one. Tom, we've got a 2, we've got a 4, we've got I don't know what number yours was, Tony. I know you said that someone stole your thunder. Okay, we got 2 4s, a 2, and an 8. Stephen White adds, Tom, we win, we get the keys, we get to be in control. And so I guess it depends, because I agree with this, how you value that, Tom.
Well, let me just preface this with saying, until the seeding within the NFC is locked up, I look at everyone as a 10. Look how the reaction was after the Broncos game. It was doom and gloom. The season was over.
Yeah, but it's the way they lost, Tom.
Yeah, I don't care, because
it was a 10 after the Bucs game too.
I want to see them go in on every game. I don't care if it's a contender for getting into the AFC Championship game, or if somehow the New York Jets should suddenly crop up on the schedule. Go out, win them, and preferably win them just like they did last Sunday by stomping the other team down, declaring your intentions, having the killer instinct from start to finish. Because I want this team to get on a roll. I want other teams to look at this Dallas Cowboys team and kind of feel moisture in their crotch. I want them to be
second
afraid.
time we've gotten a reference like that. Interesting. I
am not rooting for that to happen.
Reel it in, RJ. Reel it all in.
All excretion aside, I would love to give a point out here, but I can't. I think this was a team effort. By the way, Burmese Star says, "Whoa, what?" So thank you, Tom, for sending us there. I can't give a full point out because this was a team effort. So I give 3/4 of a point to Tom and the other quarter point to Dan. I think you guys really nailed it together. Dan, you started it, Dan, you got the interception. Tom took over on offense and took it to the end zone. So Sturch has a full point. Tom, you got 3/4 of a point. Dan, you got a quarter point. Tony, you've lost a point just because I forgot to keep track elsewhere. So you're on the receiving end of that. So well done. I said this elsewhere. I said this on the SB Nation NFL show as well. I think this game, and this, to be clear, I don't think anyone values this as much as they do the Cowboys getting the 1 seed or all the long-term goals we have in mind. This is going to be one of the most viewed games at the end of the season. At the end of the year, when they release the graphic that's the most viewed games across all networks, this might be Fox's top game of the year. And that's the reality. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. It's going to be America's game of the week. You're going to have Buck, Troy, Aaron Andrews, going to be all over the place. It's going to be massive. There's going to be a ton of eyeballs here. And again, I realize this is not the end goal, but this is something we all want, we all covet. The reality of things like MVP is that they are extremely narrative driven. You have to be a really good player, generally a really good quarterback on a really good team, and you have to have some signature moments. This is the moment that Dak Prescott can win MVP. If Dak Prescott goes out and wins with authority, there's a lot of football left, but obviously I think we all agree this is the toughest remaining opponent for the Cowboys. This is the game that will be in everyone's mind. You know, we all keep tabs on the Cowboys. That we all haven't watched every single game of every other team. We all have some preconceived notions that have been generated in our minds off of other players on other teams because we've seen them on Thursday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, whatever the case may be. And that's what this game will be for the Cowboys, for Dak, for Mike McCarthy. If they flounder, if they're low in the moment, the talk will be really, really, really bad about them. But if they are epic, I mean, it can go a long way. Aidan, do you agree?
I hesitate to agree just because I think I think this game is a lose-lose for the Cowboys in that if the Cowboys go out there and they dominate the Chiefs, the narrative's not going to be, man, the Cowboys are dangerous. The narrative's going to be, well, same old 2021 Chiefs showing up against the Cowboys. This season's completely downhill for the Chiefs. But if the Chiefs beat the Cowboys, it's all going to be Patrick Mahomes is back at 2 weeks in a row. He's established himself. So I'm just worried that those are the two narratives that comes out of this game.
That's fair. Way to ruin the party. Aidan, no big deal, I guess. Tony, an opportunity to save this. This is a 2-point question, 2-point point, really. If you can make a great case. Give it up for Anthony Brown. Go ahead, Tony. Do your best.
I mean, this is my guy. I think I've been singing his praises that he's been a victim of a narrative for a while now. I think everybody had that really bad taste in the first week against Antonio Brown, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, they do that to you. You know, sometimes it'd be like that. But ever since that moment, since week 2-1, Anthony Brown has been the quiet cornerback on the side of Trayvon Diggs, who has just gone out there and done his job at a quality level. Now, is he a Pro Bowl player? He's not. Is he an All-Pro player? He's not. At the end of the day, he's playing quality football, and I don't know what more you could ask for or want from, the other guy on the other side, unless you're looking for, Calvin Joseph to be the next, big guy out there. But I'm team Anthony Brown, and I've been team Anthony Brown for a couple months now, and I'm glad to see that the narrative is changing a little bit on him.
Only a point. Not enough, if I'm being honest with you. Sturch, do you have any passionate thoughts on Anthony Brown? Because I feel like I'll own up to this. I didn't think Anthony Brown was very good. We all, when Maurice Kennedy had the pick on Matthew Stafford in training camp during the scrimmage, it's boom. That's it. Get Anthony Brown off the field. Do you owe Anthony an apology, Sturch? Have you been singing his songs along with Tony all season long? Like, where are you at here on this scale?
I'll tell you right now, after week 1, I was ready to just cut him right then and there. I was just like, enough of this. The experiment's over. He's not Trayvon Diggs, this and that and the third. I've rode him pretty hard, and I don't want to sit here and give you guys any kind of lies or false thing. Yeah, I've definitely been hard on Anthony Brown. He's collectively as a unit last week, the secondary all balled out. Every single one of them. Jordan Lewis, Brown, Diggs, everybody did great. Curse laying the wood. These guys are playing as a unit. It just so happens that he's playing on a successful defense right now. So it's hard for us to sit there and be like, well, the glaring hole is still at opposite of Trayvon Diggs. If the problem is Trayvon Diggs has gotten so much attention, being that he has 8 picks in 9 games, that because Anthony Brown is not named Trayvon Diggs, he's not living up to that potential. That's bottom line for me.
And potential is obviously relative. I really like this comment from Kevin here. It says Brown is playing quality football with a low cap hit. You have to have guys like that. And that's what's really helping this Cowboys team. Aidan, you were hard at work this week. You have whipped this up again for the podcast audience. Please be sure to check out Blog of the Boys social media and blogoftheboys.com. Aidan, defend Anthony Brown for the non-believers like Tony Catalina.
The most impressive thing that we've seen from Anthony Brown over the last 5 weeks has been his improvement in just consistently staying in coverage. So over the first 4 weeks, he'd have those plays where, Antonio Brown would get free, and it looked like literally nobody was covering him because Anthony Brown was so far behind. But what we've seen is he's consistently staying on guys. So over the first 4 weeks, he was allowed on 36 targets, he allowed 24 receptions. Over the last 5 weeks, he's now gotten to the point where people aren't targeting him, because they realize he's on his guy. And so he's only gotten 28 targets over the last 5 weeks, and he's allowed 12 receptions on them. And the result of that is not only a lower reception percentage, more interceptions, more pass breakups, but he's bringing guys down quicker after the catch. So he's not allowing yards after the catch. Through the 4 weeks, 40% of Anthony Brown's receiving yards came after the catch. Now it's only around 20% because he's on his guys. He's ready to make the play. Even when the receiver catches the ball, he's there to break down. And the result of that is over the 4 weeks, he allowed a passer rating of 103.6. Over the last 5, it's at 38.4. So what you're seeing is just night and day improvement from Anthony Brown. And it's elevated this entire secondary because you no longer have that weak guy, that cornerback that you can pick on.
I think that's well said. Dan, I have a very hard question coming for you in just a moment. But before we get there, Tom, would you say that Anthony Brown sort of represents the floor of the Cowboys defense, and his rise has helped lead to the overall higher level of sustainability from them?
No, I would say right now the floor might be at defensive tackle because, Osi Odigizua has been really good, but outside of that, they've been kind of having a little trouble, especially after Brent Urban got hurt. Tristan Hill came back. He didn't make a big splash, but he may have kind of helped stabilize things there. So I kind of think that's the floor. And that partly, though, that's because since the first couple of weeks, Anthony Brown has been on a steady rise. If you were watching the stats and watching how things were going for him, he was improving very early on this season and has just kept it up. And now you've got this wonderful combination of a guy that can kind of shut down the other team's number 2 receiver, a guy who can kind of shut down whoever lines up in the slot, and the ball hawk who's going to go out there and have a shot at getting a pick almost every play. I like this cornerback room right now.
Well said, Tom. Okay, last topic for the day. It's a difficult one. It is the surprise topic, and there are 5 points up for grabs. So heads up to all of you. We're going to go Dan, Tony, Aidan, Sturch, Tom. That's our order here. So be ready to defend your particular point. Now, and we're also, hey, I'm not opposed to picking a winner of the day from the comment section. If you're watching along live, beat these losers. Anyway, not losers, fine gentlemen. Anyway, the current NFC playoff picture at the culmination of Week 10, gentlemen, in order from our 1 seed through our 7 seed is the Green Bay Packers, the Arizona Cardinals, our Dallas Cowboys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Los Angeles Rams currently own the top wildcard spot, the New Orleans Saints right behind them, and the Carolina Panthers, with an extra comma there because I messed up typing it, are number 7. If the playoffs started today, the Cowboys would host the Saints in the wild card round. The teams that are in the hunt, so to speak, right now, you've got the Minnesota Vikings hanging out. You technically have the Atlanta Falcons hanging out. Technically have the San Francisco 49ers hanging out, especially after what happened on Monday Night Football. By the way, huge week for the Cowboys in that obviously they won. They got losses by the Buccaneers, by the Cardinals. Even, the Rams losing is certainly helpful for them in the overall picture here. But Dan, one team that I did not mention among the contenders is the Philadelphia Eagles, who got to win themselves. By the way, all 3 Phillies' prospective first-round picks in 2022 dropped in stock this past week. There is a world, Dan, because if you look at the Eagles' schedule, we're not going to put it up here, it's not that tough. The Eagles don't exactly have a murderer's row left between them and the rest of the regular season. There is a world where the Eagles are in the mix with all the teams that we mentioned in the hunt, and we get to Week 18, and that game where the Cowboys are in Philadelphia is meaningless for Dallas. Depending on what that is. Maybe they're locked in as a 2 seed or the 3 seed, whatever. There is a world where that is meaningless for them. And so the hypothetical I am weaving is that Week 18 game for Dallas at Philadelphia is meaningless for the Cowboys, but a win and in situation for the Eagles as the 7-seed third wild card. Let's say, Dan, that the Cowboys were the team, the 2-seed, that would host the Eagles the next week. So if you're the Cowboys, you play to win, you keep the Eagles out. You lose by playing your backups or whatever, the Eagles come to AT&T Stadium 1 week later for Wild Card Weekend. How do you approach that?
You rest players.
You rest players. I want to make sure you didn't say best players. So
no, you rest players. So it's funny that you bring this up because I've been kind of watching them and thinking, man, I really don't want to see the Eagles sneak in and have the Cowboys play them in the first round. And then that would just be a terrible way to end this, because the Eagles have a good defense.
It would ruin all of this.
Yeah, it would ruin everything. The whole thing would just be, yeah. And the Eagles have a good defense, and they've been playing well. Hurts is, he's got some wild card factor in him. So I don't want to see the Eagles. I just would rather them win enough to mess up their draft pick, but just miss the playoffs. But to your question is, you got to protect the health of your players. I mean, I don't know how McCarthy handles this. We know how Garrett did. Like, he prepared, and everybody was like going to play, and sometimes he would play them for a while. But yeah, I'm not. There's already 17 games already. I'm resting players. So just let the Eagles have it.
Okay, so Dan is team rest. Jason Garrett, if we're looking at recent examples, 2014 Cowboys Week 17 were in Washington, played everybody, great game for Romo, Dez, good times. 2016, when they had the 1 seed locked up, they played Dak for a series. Romo's last game hit Terrence Williams for a touchdown, had some fun. The Eagles technically won that game. Dallas did win in 2014, just to be clear. And then in 2018, Jason Garrett rested Zeke, but played Dak. And that was, if not for the way that game ended with Dak Prescott hitting Cole Beasley in the back of the end zone for the game-winning touchdown, they could have affected the confidence the Cowboys had the following week in the wild card round against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, we don't know. They won that Week 17 game and the playoff game. But Dan, you are team rest. Our commenters are really all team take the Eagles out. Tony, you are up next. Kevin says knocking the Eagles out of the playoffs would not be a meaningless game. So Kevin is now assigning meaning to that Week 18 game, hypothetically, Tony. Remember, this is an Eagles team that fixed the NFC East by throwing the last game of last year. Tony.
Take the emotion out of it. You do what's best for you and your team. If you think, Mike McCarthy, I mean, we got a long way to go before we get to that week, right? You look at the health of your team, you look at the way your team is playing, and you make a decision that's best for you in that moment. Who cares about the rivalry? If you're scared of the
I think the answer to who cares, though, is the next week cares. Like, that's what cares about this.
Well, so at the end of the day, so if you rest them, they win, and you play them next week. Are we afraid? You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, we're afraid. I'm not like afraid of admitting that I'm afraid. Like, I am. To Dan's point, that it would be one of the worst ends to a season of all time to have this year where we have danced around the NFC East all year long just to be embarrassed like that in the wild card round.
I thought I was Chicken Little. So the way I look
on this subject, I am king of the chickens.
So my thing is, we've talked about all week. Let's try to avoid the NFC West wild card, right? So if you're telling me we're sitting there, a team that we've already put a beat down on, a team that we know we can beat, a team that we're very familiar with, and you're saying, okay, this would be best for our team if we rest them here. I don't care that the Eagles are, the hated rival. I would love in every other scenario to make sure they're not in the playoffs. But if I got to affect my team, let's say we out there to knock the Eagles out of the playoffs, Dak gets hurt and he's out of the wild card game, then your worst nightmare comes true. So at the end of the day, worry about what is most important for you. And if you got to see the Eagles again next week, just put it on them. Just put it on them. I mean, if we're going to play the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs, I like that better than some of the other options.
Tony had some penne vodka today, Sturch. I mean, feeling nice and tall. I get that. Aidan, you're up next. And let's be clear, the like nirvana is you play Cooper Rush and Corey Clement and you beat him. And, that's nirvana. We all can agree with this here. Obviously, the most terrifying idea is you say, we're going to stand in their way. We're going to do everything we can to stop them, and you still lose. That would be terrifying going into the wild card round. So all factors considered, Aidan, how do you feel? We've got 2 team rests, 5 points up for grabs here.
Yeah, I'm also on team rest. I wish it could be at least, yeah, Sturch, it seems like you'll have something more, but I see if you rest your players, I see there's 3 benefits. You obviously, we've talked about this, you get the extra Dak, Zeke, Cooper, Lamb. They all get the extra week of rest going into the playoff game.
And sorry, and just to interrupt you here, we're obviously operating under the presumption here that the Cowboys are not the 1 seed. So you can create your own bye here is the advantage that you, Dan, and Tony are all talking about as well. But just to note that, go ahead.
Yeah, so you get that rest. Number 2 is the Eagles then get a worse draft pick. And I think that's kind of flying under the radar because cover your ears, but Jalen Hurts is actually looking okay. And I don't want them to have 3 picks inside the top 12 and a potential franchise quarterback. Now, obviously, sounds a little bit hypothetical. Why would you then want to play Jalen Hurts in the next round? But I see it as number 3. If you can't beat the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs, you're not beating the Rams. You're not beating the Bucks. You're not beating the Cardinals. You're going to have to take care of an okay team in the first round. And if you can't do it against Jalen Hurts, you're not beating Brady.
That might be the best point that anyone has raised so far. So we got an early contender for our 5-point value. Now, I do want to stretch before I get to you. Burmy Star says the team that goes for 2 to go up 36-3 instead of 35-3 definitely slaps the taste out of a division rival's mouth just to say they did bully ball. The only thing I would come back to this with, Burmy Star, is the reason Mike McCarthy went for 2 had nothing to do with proving a point to the Atlanta Falcons. As Aidan mentioned when he talked about that, there was the 12 men on the field penalty on the Falcons. The book says to go for 2 in that moment. It's just the more sound decision, and Mike McCarthy leans on that, as we've seen over his year and a half as the Cowboys head coach. But I agree that he's certainly about flexing his muscle, as we've seen over the last week. Sturch, you are diametrically opposed to your 3 counterparts here, it would seem. I'm anxious to hear what Tom has to say. To set you up, Sturch, Kevin says you don't want to give the Eagles hope they can win the week before you play them again.
I started this podcast tonight by saying that I wasn't satisfied, right? Like even with a win 43-3, I wasn't satisfied. This particular show that I love being a part of, a couple weeks back, you asked the question, when is it time to start rooting for the Eagles and the Washington football team and the Giants to start?
We did it last week, to be fair, and it worked. Washington won. Shout out to them.
No. This is the Philadelphia Eagles we're talking about here, okay? Yes, did we beat the brakes off the Eagles in Dallas? Yes, wonderfully. That's great, right? That game also had me on the edge of my seat until it got laughable, right? So the Eagles are always going to play the Cowboys tough. Why, in what world do you want to rest all your starters in week 18, have the red hot Eagles, who have to be red hot technically to make the playoffs, right? They have to.
That's a fair point.
They have to be winning games going into that. Then they win another game. Do you really want to go into a world where Dallas, who have infamously broke our hearts in AT&T Stadium in the playoffs, to face Jalen Hurts and all these high-flying no. You put your foot on the throat and you end the Eagles' misery. Stop with the whole, they might get a couple better draft picks. When have they ever cashed in on a draft pick in the last 5 years?
Devontae Smith.
They fumbled. Now, right, 1. Okay, cool, 1.
I mean, Congrats. That's the most recent one. I mean, to be fair.
But they've fumbled draft picks left and right. Stop worrying about everybody else. Control your own. Go into that last game, and this is all hypotheticals. Obviously, we'll find out where we are in that last game. We might be playing for a 2 seed. We might be playing for a 3 seed. The hypotheticals are all over the place, but this is the Philadelphia Eagles. You stomp on them. You stomp them out, and you end their season, and then you ride into the first round of the playoffs as a home team, and you take your chances with whoever else, because whoever is there probably deserves to be there. The Eagles do not deserve to be there. We have a reason to put them out. Don't rest your players. You want to rest guys? You want to rest guys that are banged up, like a Tyron Smith, or let's just say Zeke is a little hobbled, and you want to go with Pollard that game? Fine. But you don't sit there and say, hey, Dak, take the week off. Let the division rival into the playoffs because we're sure we could beat them next week. Stop.
Tom, I'll get to you in a moment. But Sturch, I do want to ask, because you're the only person who has been of this mindset so far on the roundtable. And AJ Torres, by the way, says, thank you, Dave, on point. The commenters really agree with you, Sturch. So you're a man of the people. But Sturch, again, we're living in hypotheticals here. So I realize I'm building hypothetical off hypothetical off hypothetical. Say you do that. Say you go your route. Say that's the mentality. You slap the monkey butt around. You say, we're here to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, keep them out of the playoffs, and you lose. And then you got to play them next week. was it worth that risk to you?
That's a really good point, right? So ready for this? If they play and they come out flat, the last time Dallas Cowboys came out flat was against the Broncos. They beat the
Oh, you know what? Maybe you've just kind of edited this. I mean, like the definition of the word, not the new about cutting. You like take off, and you have the monkey butt week the following week against the Eagles. That's an interesting. I have to save you for last because you're incredibly thoughtful and incredibly handsome, for being honest. And so many people are looking forward to this Arizona Cardinals game in Week 17. I actually think, and again, we're living in hypotheticals. There's a world where the result, specifically a Cowboys win, serves to create this sort of paradox that we're describing here. Because if the Cowboys beat the Arizona Cardinals, that could effectively lock in their playoff position, whatever that winds up being, contingent upon how the Packers fare. I personally think the Packers are losing their next 2 games. They have the Vikings on Sunday and the Rams next week. But again, lots of moving parts to happen here. But ironically, that Cardinals game could serve, if you want to say, to their detriment again, and then it creates this Kobayashi Maru, so to speak. But Tom, your thoughts? How do you handle this? 5 points are on the line here. That's a truly valuable thing, Tom.
Well, are we assuming that the Cowboys are locked into a certain playoff scene? Because
that's the entire premise of the hypothetical.
Yeah,
so.
and we're assuming that the Eagles are hovering on the edge of making the playoffs, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I will just fall back on saying that there's 2 things that I'm going to think about. One, the NFL has been drunk all season, and weird things are happening this year. So, that's a great argument for going ahead and playing the game to win with your best players. Howsoever, what do you do if you go out there with your starters in a game that really just means whether or not the Eagles get to go in and probably get mud stomped in the first round of the playoffs, and you lose a Dak, you lose a Zeke, you lose a CD, you lose a Trayvon?
Step out in front of a bus and it hits you on the way out.
Yeah, but
you're dead.
Yeah, but the Eagles, do you trust them not to take a cheap shot in a situation like that?
That's another variable that we're having to introduce here. What a great question by me. Good job, me. I should get 5 points.
Give yourself all the points, RJ.
So yeah, I am going. First off, I don't think it's going to be that way. I think they're going to be pretty well sorted out.
That's not fun.
Yeah,
he's taking the high road here.
But I'm going to lean on protecting my stars. Maybe give them the first series so that they don't get a problem with rust the first week of the playoffs. But I want to protect some people. I don't want to see them get hurt. If you're down there and you've lost into one of the top 2 positions, yeah.
Dan, Aidan, or Tony, do either of you want to respond to Sturch? Again, 5 points hanging in the balance here. So, it's because, he spoke after all of you, and he's on an island here when it comes to the 5 of you. Do either of you have a counter just for the purposes of fleshing the conversation out?
Soft. SAWFT. All of you, soft.
So I just have one question for you. If you had to play the Eagles 2 weeks in a row, would you rather play and Cooper Rush started one of them and Dak started the other? Would you rather go Cooper Rush then Dak, or Dak and Cooper Rush?
Oh, come on. Like, what are you doing, man? You're hurt. Both of you and Tom are hurting Dak Prescott. You're just saying he's all right. That's it. By the way, he's getting hurt.
I don't think they're hurting Dak. I think that they're acknowledging that this is the NFL. I mean, it's a relative variable, Sturch. You can disagree with it, but you can't dismiss its relevance.
The problem is that's not the question at hand here. We're not talking about injuries all day. Like, you're talking about, do you want to end the Eagles season or do you want to play them twice? I want to end the Eagles season.
I think they're answering the question in that they don't want to end the Cowboys season. That's all of their answer.
And I can end their own season by losing to a division rival in AT&T Stadium. That can happen. We've seen it.
I just want to see the Cowboys humiliate the Eagles with Cooper Rush and Steele and Nsekhe and McGovern playing center and just say, look.
No, running back in this game.
Yeah, but he's the backup center. You know, he
Corey
came in and
Clement
played snaps at center
revenge
during the last
on
game.
deck.
Tony, you had your hand raised.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my answer is out of pure disrespect. Like I'm telling you right now, I do not care about the Eagles. I am not worried about the Eagles. I'm not living in the past. This team is gonna river stomp, curb stomp, whatever kind of stomp you want. There's gonna be teeth on the floor. I don't care. Let them get in. Let the little brother get in. Let the little brother get the oh you're in. You got in now. Oh, you can play with the big boys now. And we're gonna punch you out, and you're gonna come back in next week just to leave out with your tail between your legs.
RJ.
Tony
RJ,
just took a commanding lead. Sturch.
RJ,
I mean,
I got a podcast with these people. Like, how do you do this to me, right? Look, we're supposed to be building camaraderie here.
I want to say something. The last time that the Cowboys won on the road, Dan, you saw this tweet earlier. I know you did. Last time the Cowboys won at Kansas City, it was part of a 3-game stretch where they lost to the Broncos and beat the Atlanta Falcons. That same season, Sturch, the Cowboys played the Philadelphia Eagles in the final week of the regular season and in the wild card round. Now the Cowboys won both of those games, which would be an impossibility in this hypothetical, but it would be coming to fruition. And you know what? I joked with Tony that I'm king of the chickens here. It would be terrifying. And I want to admit that it would be terrifying to play the Eagles in the wild card round, because I think that's what makes this that's why we love it, because it would be terrifying to lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. On the flip side, though, I agree with Tony that the Cowboys, 100 times out of 100 would curb stomp the Eagles, and that would be satisfying. And this season, by the way, DJ Talk 31 says Tony's talking like a madman.
Made man.
Made man. My bad. I couldn't. Yeah, I'm too worked up in my own emotions.
Fellow Paisan.
This season has been a season, and Aidan, I'm curious for your thoughts here. A season of, I don't want to say exorcisms, but a seasons of can'ts, won'ts. You can't go to New England. You won't go to New England and win. You can't win without Dak Prescott. You won't win without Dak Prescott. You can't respond to a humiliating loss and win. You won't respond to a humiliating loss and win. And they've done that. And so I also want this, and I've told this to all of you, I want the Cowboys to go to Lambeau Field in the divisional round of the playoffs and bounce Aaron Rodgers in the same. I want it in the divisional round. I don't want it in the title game or the wild card round. That wouldn't happen. I want it in the divisional round. I want to beat him in that round specifically, the round that he has owned the Cowboys. I don't want to do it at AT&T. I want to do it at Lambeau Field and make up for the Dez catch and make up for 2016 and Jared Cook. And I want Mike McCarthy to return to the house that Aaron Rodgers kicked him out and just hand it to him. And then I want the Packers to trade him in the offseason. I want that to be the last game that Aaron Rodgers plays for the Green Bay Packers. Aidan, your thoughts?
Hey, man, that is perfect, because I know we all are. I'm so sick and tired of the Packers and just like the general stigma that they have. I've been reading stuff this week that everybody was like, the Packers came out and they proved themselves as the best team in the NFC against the Seahawks. I'm like, did we watch the same game? Because Russell Wilson looked horrible and they won 17-0 in a game where they couldn't get their offense doing anything. But now everybody's like, they're the team to beat in the NFC officially. The Cardinals lost. The Rams lost. Nobody's paying attention to the Cowboys. The Bucks lost. They're the best team.
I don't know how anybody, Aidan, had the Packers over the Titans in their power rankings today. I have no clue.
No idea.
That's a different discussion. Obviously, we wouldn't see them for a while, but the Titans have been on a tear. Right. Yeah,
but I agree with you. So, Aidan, finish your point. Sorry.
Overall, the last 7 years now, I'm just so sick and tired of the Packers, and I would love for us to meet them in the playoffs because McCarthy's going to be ready. You thought Dan Quinn had a vendetta against the Falcons last week? Yeah, McCarthy would come out swinging.
You know what's funny about this is that this feels like the opposite of the 90s. Remember the Packers were just trying to get over that Dallas Cowboy hump, and it just wasn't happening, and then the Cowboys kept winning the Super Bowl and being the dominant team that they were, and then they finally got over the hump and won in 96. Dude, this could be the same thing. We can't get over this Packers hump for all these years, and then finally in Lambeau Field in the snow. I want it to friggin' snow.
Nah, I don't want the snow.
I want
that's
CD
not part
Lamb.
of my favorite dream.
I want CD Lamb, in which I taught my daughter this, by the way. I taught her the whole the wipe at the nose thing. I taught her that the other day. She loves it. I want him to be doing that all day long. Like, I want Lambeau Field just as much as you guys do.
I want CD wearing number 88 to have the game sealing catch. That's what I want that. Dan, Aidan and Tony have kind of come to bat now and I've joined the brigade. All right. And so Dan, do you have any sort of follow-up thoughts here to further discredit Sturch's opinion?
I mean,
I have to do my opinion.
I want all those things too, but I want the Cowboys to just advance, and I want them to go to the Super Bowl. And so I want the path of least resistance. I love the great stories.
Dan. Respect. We all want like burgers and ranch dressing, and you're like, I'll just take a grilled chicken and asparagus. You know what I mean? So
hey, it's good for you. But I mean, health is the most important as far as. I mean, I feel pretty strong on that take. But I don't know. There's a lot of teams that I fear. I mean, I'm scared of Tom Brady. I'm scared of Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know what Arizona could do. I'm still scared of the Rams. I know that they're struggling right now, but I mean, they got a really good team. So I don't know. I want to be healthy, and I want the Cowboys to be playing well. And but I mean, I'll take the story. I'd love to just beat the Eagles so we can all flex on Twitter and everything. It'd be great. Yeah. But honestly, I just want us to be able to just be healthy and just have the best path to get to the Super Bowl.
Tom, do you have any follow-up thoughts here after we kind of flesh the discussion out just a little bit more?
Yeah, I just want the Cowboys to keep winning. And, we haven't talked about what might happen if they make it to the Super Bowl. And there's a very interesting development the past few weeks. The New England Patriots seem to be getting their act together. And can you imagine the attention a Dallas New England Super Bowl would get? That's what I've got, this secret little dream in my heart that I guess isn't so much of a secret anymore, but that would be absolutely great. Other than that, I just want the Cowboys to play a lot more games like we saw last Sunday. I don't want to have a good close game well fought. I want to, hey, you want us to send an ambulance out to help you pick up your bloody bodies off of the field?
Violent.
Again, Tom, there's a lot of, this is a, explicit episode.
A lot of bodily fluids.
A lot of fluids coming out of Tom over there.
I really think, I don't know who the juiciest. I think New England would be that team, Tom, because again, it has been a season of vindication in so many senses. To Aidan's point, for Dan Quinn, it would be for Mike McCarthy. Shout out to Bobby Belt, friend of the show, who noted Dak Prescott told Tom Brady at the end of week 1, "We'll see you again." And I would love for the Cowboys to go back to Tampa and just kind of one by one, just mark off their list, go through every way that they've been scarred and hurt and broken and beaten before. And I know they already beat New England, but to do it again, and it would be satisfying too if we're factoring all our wants and wishes to go just house New England in the Super Bowl, so that Philly couldn't say, well, we beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But I know it wouldn't be Tom Brady and whatnot, but it would be pleasant to have that happen. Sturch, I'll give you closing thoughts on this argument, but it's not looking good, being honest with you.
This argument went 18 different ways. Like it started off.
Welcome to the roundtable.
Well, I'm saying it started with this specific question went from the Eagles and the hypotheticals to who we want to face. Yeah,
because Sturch, that's the Dan mentioned the Dakota Fly effect. That's the butterfly effect. There's a fantastic episode of the show Community, if anyone's ever seen it, where they roll a dice, and the episode. Thank you, Aidan, for nodding. The dice, there's a group of people, and a pizza is delivered, and everybody doesn't want to go get it, and somebody grabs a dice. The character's name is Jeff in the show. He says, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm going to roll this dice, and whoever it lands on has to go downstairs and get the pizza. And so 6 alternative timelines are created based off of whatever side that dice lands on. And that's how this works, right? Like anything can go a number of different directions. Welcome to the NFL, baby.
All right. Well, my closing argument is that, yes, I want to beat Aaron Rodgers, in Lambeau, like we said. I like the division round aspect of it. I do like that. That's kind of interesting. I would love to see Tom Brady again and dethrone the GOAT and make him send him into retirement. And, you mentioned that New England's on their, on their horse. And I agree. Mac Jones is really playing well. But to me, turn back the clocks all the way. Give me the Cowboys and the Bills from the 92-93 Super Bowl. Give me that. And give me, the drought being over in this year. That's what I want.
I don't want that. We've already beaten the Bills in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm here for the new age. I'm here for the new times. I've seen this movie, but like Sturch, you're like, let's watch Rush Hour 2 again. Like, I love that movie, but you know what I mean? I've seen it 1,000 times.
I can watch Tommy Boy over and over and
That's
over.
what I'm saying. Like, we don't let's watch Dune. It just came. You know what I mean? Like, let's watch something new and innovative or something.
Ooh, Diggs versus Diggs. Come on now. Are you kidding?
Okay. Nice save. Final point tally. Bernie
on
Starr
Bernie.
was actually the first person to mention Diggs versus Diggs. So
I
Bernie
was just
Starr
gonna
gets
say
the
that's on
credit.
Bernie. That's a good movie.
Okay, 5 points were up for grabs, but I've checked and I found 15 more. Tom, Tony, Aidan, Dan, y'all get 5 points. 0 points for Sturch. So that means we have, I've decided we have a 4-way tie for today's winner. Tom, Tony, Aidan, Dan, congratulations on winning today's roundtable for Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. A huge honor. The certificates in the mail for all of you. Does any one of you want to speak on behalf of all four as an acceptance sort of speech? Anybody? One of you needs to do this. So, I mean, that would
Give it to Tom.
Tom, speak now on behalf of you and your fellow champions.
I just want to say how moved and touched we are to have clearly earned this award. And I'm glad we've got you in charge of election integrity, RJ.
That's right.
I just want to ask one question. Who's the S? Who's the A? Who's the F? And who's the T? Soft. Who's the
that?
O?
That would be Saft.
I can't spell.
Sturch.
I'm so on fire right now. I was going for the SAWFT, but I realized there's not enough. You know what, RJ?
You know what, Sturch? You're over here like hating the divisional rivals. You're coming up with a word that literally includes WFT. Like, who's the real weirdo here thinking about other division rivals? I mean, you're clearly a fan of the team in our nation's capital. You know, you're subliminally thinking about them. So congratulations to all of you. Is there a seagull in the chat? I don't know what that is. Or maybe it's a kitten.
A cat that needs to be let out of the room.
But I thought it was a seagull, honestly. Anybody have any thoughts that if they do not get them out right now, you won't be able to sleep tonight? Now is the time. Now is the opportunity. Anybody.
I will say this.
Anybody but Sturch. But
tonight's
Sturch,
chat, but no, tonight's chat. Shout out to the chat. Those guys were all entertaining. I was watching simultaneously the whole time. Everybody that participated in tonight's chat, you guys rock because you had me laughing the whole time. Somebody even said slap the guy. Like slap
Keith
me.
Axelrod actually said Block of the Boys should also get the award for the best Cowboys fan channel. Thank you very much, Keith. If you guys haven't yet, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast network. Those things are very cool. So Sturch had some final thoughts. What a shock. Aidan, Dan, Tom, Tony. Anybody have anything else? Aidan, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, Liam's a Pro Bowl kicker. I'll just
That's
put
right.
out that.
Yeah. Very well said. You know what? 5-way tie for tonight's win. Liram's added to U5. So 5 horsemen, not 4. Dan, any final thoughts, final words, final limericks?
Just give Sturch some monkey butt.
Tony? Tony, you had the line of the night, by the way, saying my answer is purely out of disrespect. That was a great way to put. That's what put you 4 over the top, if I'm being honest.
Listen, that's how I feel about them. All the division opponents, disrespectful. I want to be disrespectful every week against them.
Tom, we are about to sign off. The final 11 words belong to you. Make them great.
Why do you always do this to me? Bye.
That's 9. We need 2 more words.
Go Cowboys.
I'll see you guys next week.